When a client asks about a structure, we need to consider a few things. So we have pavilions and pergolas. Now, this is not a trellis, an arbor, a gazebo. So we're talking about pergolas or pavilions. There's the main functionality that we're going after is, do you want coverage from the rain or do you want coverage from just the sun? So if you're looking for just shade, then we're probably gonna be leaning towards a pergola versus a pavilion. If you want coverage from the rain, and maybe to close it in someday, you want a beefier structure, you want some more things to it, you probably want to lean towards a pavilion. Maybe you could talk about some of the different materials.
Of course, you can have regular wood, treated wood, vinyl, composite, just different types. Depends on, what best fits your budgets because, wood would be cheaper than your composite. Just consider things, how you want it secured to your foundation as well, whether it's going to be in with your footers, attached to the house, detached from the house.
One thing that we run into a lot is we want to consider the height of the pergola
Yes.
or the pavilion. So if you're standing in your kitchen window, looking out, you're not looking at a piece of wood, that we have the height high enough. So that's very important. Additional considerations when we're designing the pavilion or the pergola are going to be the footer size, or the post spacings. Pergolas are measured by the top purloins and those dimensions versus the beams. Pavilions are measured by post to post. So we want to consider when we're putting in these pavilions or pergolas into a 3D design that we have the right spacing to fit furniture, to fit potentially a fireplace. Do we want to put a kitchen under there? So we want to make sure that space feels comfortable and good to how you're going to use it based on its actual function. And in addition to that, when we're talking about what's up on the ceiling of that pavilion, there's options to have a finished ceiling, so a beadboard or other type of finish. And then that could also hide those wires that's running up on the beams. So you put a ceiling over that, we could run the wires, drop down the ceiling fan, we could install can lights, which one thing to consider on those can lights is that if there's a ceiling fan, you don't want shadows to be ran by your blades going round and round. So all these things have to be discussed and thought through in a professional way before really biting the bullet on a $10, $15, $20, $30,000 pavilion.
Yes, absolutely. I would agree. More things you could consider too. Height is a great thing because we get that a lot, but you can add curtains, you can add walls, privacy walls, basically about any way you want to design the pergola or pavilion. Also can have metal roof, shingle roof.
What additional considerations do you got to think about?
The things that I would consider when purchasing a pavilion is if I wanted a TV installed or lighting, a ceiling fan, so forth, running my wires up my post, making sure that I select which corner I want my TV before I install the electrical wire, making sure you got your outlets in the right positions, if you want them to be seen, if you want them not to be seen, so forth. Just little things like that to consider when installing electric or whatever to your pavilion.
So on a pavilion or a pergola, people don't think about the fact that they will have to stain these if they're wood. So our structures, they come pre-stained. One thing that you would have to consider if it wasn't stained, that you'd have to wait a set amount of months to let that treated lumber air out before it'll accept that stain. So the fact that they come pre-stained is pretty convenient.